Literally reminds me of a cider.
A cider, yeah. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Not because a lot of the ex-alcoholics that I share kombucha with, they like it because it's kind of like alcohol, but
Yeah.
I like it because it makes my pussy taste like candy.
Sure.
Mhm.
I'll have to test that out.
Well,
Not with my own people. I should have specified.
You're gonna let your people taste your pussy.
Yeah.
Soon.
Yes.
Okay, this podcast is already coming off to a great start. This is very typical for us. I love it here. Welcome to Scary World Pod. Welcome to Scary World Pod. Oh, sorry, was that jarring for me to stare at the camera? We're in a movie.
We're here.
Wouldn't that be funny if
Just
I was able
crack
to
it
actually
against your
crack
head.
it against my head and not give myself a fucking concussion? Imagine. Welcome to Scary World Pod. Today I'm here with Sam Ashkenazy, aka Protest Art. Protest Art is a new, what type of genre is it again?
Rage rave?
Rage rave outfit, centered in Long Island right now. And yeah, it's the next fucking thing, and we're gonna talk about that shit today because it's fucking amazing. And I've been here on the journey with Sam on the sidelines as his friend for months now, from the very beginning of the conceiving of it.
Yes.
Mother?
Yes.
Mother! I'm hyperventilating just thinking about it. We're gonna get fucking into it. Okay, so did you like that intro? Was it good?
I did.
Am I inspiring you?
You always inspire me, Cori.
Okay. I'm gonna stop orgasming at you. I actually have like a clipboard today and stuff. Like, we're gonna keep fucking track of this shit.
Let's do it.
All right. Fucking protest art.
Protest art.
I'm stoked. Well, let me make sure. Yeah, I'm not covering you. Okay, goody. Who the fuck is Big Mouth?
Okay, so Big Mouth is this character that kind of lives throughout my protest art songs. Basically, the world I'm painting in protest art is this kind of America on the brink of apocalypse, right? And Big Mouth is this character who is kind of ushering in that apocalypse in a sense. I mean, in a sense, he's the president, right? He's the president of this world in the protest art universe.
The theoretical president, no
Correct.
relation to the current American
No.
president
No.
or incoming president at this time of the podcast of the United States.
Correct. And like the thing is I think I don't really want to identify party when I'm doing protest art. As much as I know that I lean a certain way, I think there's issues on really both sides of the political spectrum. And I want Big Mouth to kind of be a personification of whichever side you're kind of against in that moment. I think, both sides have certain levels of corruption, and I think that Big Mouth can kind of speak and embody that in a way that also allows me to kind of express my own feelings and
Disdain,
disdain.
so to say.
Yes, on what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, call the horse the color it is. I mean,
Right. But I also, again, like, even though like the current president-elect I'm no fan of, I wouldn't want to like dissuade any supporters of his from listening to my music either. I think the music itself could and should be very universal. I think that Big Mouth, like I said, like he could represent kind of anybody that you feel is doing the wrong thing. Maybe not even necessarily a politician, but somebody just higher up in stature that
sure.
is not doing the right thing morally, ethically, economically. And I think that Big Mouth was my way of kind of
personifying that.
well, personifying it, but also like my own way of fighting it, because I mean, I think like, we're artists just starting out in our careers, and we have a long ladder to climb, right? And like, I know that there's only so much I can do at this, at the point that I'm at right now. And I think that this to me just felt like the clearest way of expressing myself in times that I thought were extremely turbulent.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, so how does Big Mouth identify? What are his pronouns? What's his gender identity like?
Probably aggressively straight. Aggressively heteronormative. Like I said, right? I mean, like, he's a character. He's very much a character, and when it's kind of funny because when I approached writing this album, and just writing my protest art songs in general, I've kind of approached them like I approach writing a script, and for me, he's very much a character like in a script, and it's just
Sure.
kind of a different format, and he definitely, if I, fully develop this character, very heteronormative, very probably insecure in his masculinity, to be honest.
Is he?
Probably.
Do you think Big Mouth would go on Joe Rogan? Do you think he's a red pillar?
Oh, yes.
Does he have
Oh,
like
yes.
a future of a red pill movement type of thing?
I
the
think
horizon?
I think right now, like, when I look at a lot of what's going on in, the red-pilled circles, I think
Sure.
for me, a lot of what's being talked about in there does bother me, and it's I make that no secret on this album,
Sure.
or any of my protest art songs, but I do feel that, again, like, I also don't want to, like, strictly say, like, it's just a red pill thing, because there are things that I also,
There's a lot of facets, like, of patriarchy, influence and things like that.
Yeah, and
like that.
I just feel like, again, like, he doesn't belong to a party. He's kind of, more closely related to, like, one of the horsemen of the apocalypse than he is an actual political figure, I think.
Sure.
I want him to be, again, like, not divisive. I want him to actually be something kind of uniting in a sense, but I also think that, the
Unified evil.
yeah, I mean, like, I think what it really is like, I think for Big Mouth is, like, he's a lot of, like, the worst of us,
Sure.
and I think that Democrat, Republican, Independent, I don't really think it matters. I think, we all have our worst urges in us, and whether we express those or
course.
not is really up to us. But I think for me, Big Mouth is kind of just somebody that lives by their worst urges and lives by their worst thoughts. And, I'd say he's probably a very nihilistic character. I think I take maybe some of the most nihilistic thoughts I have and I put them into him.
Yeah. Would you say sometimes, like, you feel like Big Mouth is like an entity within you, would you say?
Well, look, like any screenwriter or character writer will tell you, right? Any character that they write is a piece of them in a sense. I feel that, like I said, he's probably the worst of me, in a lot of ways. I've definitely been angry in my life. I would say I'm probably still pretty angry at times.
Yeah.
But I mean, he gets a lot of that out for me. I'm very cynical at times, and he gets a lot of that out for me. I don't want it to also be, like, completely hopeless either.
Like, not to be taken too seriously, or...
Well, not that I don't want it to be taken seriously. Like, I don't like the idea of joking about these topics.
Sure.
I really don't. I don't approach them from a lighthearted perspective, but I do feel like...
there's still room for pastiche within...
I think there's
within
room for
the horror
hope.
of it.
I think there's room for hope. I think it's actually, like... you know, like in a couple of the songs, like which I'm sure we'll get into, like there's kind of like a tone of an apology
Sure.
within it. Like the title track on the album, like When It All Comes Crashing Down, there's kind of this sense of like, I kind of wrote that from the perspective of like a father apologizing to his kid because they have to take actions that are drastic and scary in this kind of apocalyptic America. And the kid doesn't understand it. And the father's just kind of telling him like, I just want you to know that we still love you and it's okay. And even though you don't understand what's happening right now, like we'll get through this.
Right.
You know, so I do want to communicate this sense that like, you know, even like in my shirt, right?
Sure.
The apocalypse was yesterday, time to deal with real issues. You know, I think that like very much kind of speaks to what like I'm talking about on this piece.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I guess we kind of know your references for the character. I feel like
Sure.
It's no secret. But touch on that for a second. But I also want to kind of just talk about the project as a whole and what your like influences on the project were, like not just sonically but also thematically, because I mean there's been things before like, you know, that aren't as literal as protest art, or maybe even actually as literal as protest art, but not really taken from as much of a campy sort of perspective as protest art is, like Rage Against the Machine, like they take themselves real fucking serious, you know, and other people totally slip my fucking mind right now, but you know, like people from punk and like first wave emo, I guess there's some first wave emo political shit, and
I mean, sure, Rage Against the Machine. I, you know, definitely like a lot of influences from the punk era, at least lyrically. Marilyn Manson was a huge influence in my early years. You know, I would.
I mean, even during your live shows, Manson used to do like the whole like, so to say, like Hitler-esque.
Sure. Well, I mean,
thing at his show, like he used to get up on stage. I think during the Age of Grotesque.
Yes, Golden Age of Grotesque.
Yeah, it was during that tour. He had the podium with the made up sort of emblem, which, you know, obviously is an allusion to a swastika.
Yes.
And people took it seriously. Like skinheads actually took him on as being one of them when it was really not actually supposed to be that.
Well, it's really a critique of them. You know, I mean, I think.
Of course, but they took it as being supportive.
Yeah.
Instead of what it was is him kind of like trying to make a stand.
I always find that stuff kind of amusing. I love when people sit there and think that a piece of art is on their side when it's actually kind of satirizing them. I would not.
Because also, not to mention, like not that, like Marilyn Manson isn't like actually like he's a queer icon technically as he presents. He himself is not a queer person, as we all know.
At least right now.
He's not. As we know in the public eye of Marilyn Manson himself, as a Marilyn Manson fan, not of his failings, but of his art over the years.
I will leave that open to interpretation because I will still gladly be with Marilyn Manson at any point. I will take that.
Period. You heard it here.
I will take it. It's Lindsay could go.
Well,
I want at least just a night. You know, just a night with the god of fuck. Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I know. It really is a dream to try to cast off the evil of our heroes.
If I had to pick like any other, like, because you were like talking sonically too, and like the thing is too is like when I was listening to a lot of, like, the thing is like a lot of metal lyricists have inspired me over the years,
right.
But metal itself as a genre has grown increasingly stale for me, I think.
Especially with like metalcore. Like metalcore really just kind of like is a joke.
Well, you know, it also like, you know, I think the thing that like really started becoming a problem for me was, you know, in my later high school years and as I started getting into college, you know, I started having convictions and beliefs on certain topics in the news or in government or economically class-wise, and I had these issues that I thought were rather worthy of being talked about, if not screamed about. And, I'm listening to metal, and they all kind of are complaining about their girlfriends breaking up with them. And it's like...
Yeah. It's a little sad, isn't it?
It is a little sad, because, like, there's much worse things going on.
Not just decenter men, decenter romance.
Yes.
Decenter romance.
And I think, if we're going to be screaming about stuff, we should be screaming about stuff that is
that
worthy of being...
fucking matters.
Right. That's worthy of being screamed about. And I just felt like metal was kind of not doing that. And I thought that was rather strange, considering it's kind of an entire genre based in rebellion. So I mean, very much, a lot of my thinking into protest art was kind of that. The other thing is, too, is like, I felt like most of the metalcore bands that I hear these days are in the same key. They all are doing they're doing the exact same tricks as everybody else. They all drop D when they want to go into a breakdown, and, they do these very well-produced screams, which I have no problem with, but, after a while, if I hit random shuffle on YouTube, they all do sound the same.
They very much do, yeah.
And my thing with protest art was, can I bring some of those elements and actually try and experiment with it and do something a little bit new? So what I did with protest art was sonically, like, I kind of leaned into the electronic aspect of things. I mean, I do have a guitar player, but generally, when I'm on stage, I'm with a DJ. And I'm screaming over an electronic beat, or rapping over electronic beat, or singing over electronic beat, but whatever.
It's
I mean, I'll have, if I have X with me on a live show, we'll do a live mix.
Yeah, of course.
But I mean, like, generally speaking, it's probably a pre-tracked thing. But the thing is that I wanted to lean into the electronic aspect of things. I wanted to try and combine genres that don't normally fit together. Hence, our confusion in the beginning of, like, what genre is this? It definitely doesn't fit neatly into metal, but it definitely doesn't fit neatly into, like, EDM either.
Yeah, it seems like kind of like the type of metal that, like, maybe like Poppy or Grimes.
Yeah.
Kind of tried to experiment with.
I'd even say more most recently, like, even Bring Me the Horizon has kind of, like, drifted into this area a little bit of, like, trying to experiment with electronic sounds. Electric Callboy very often goes into these electronic sounds, even though, like, thematically they're completely different from what I'm doing. But I mean, this kind of sound has been out there, kind of out in the open for a while, and yet, like, I feel like very few artists have really played with it. Icy Stars used to play with it back in the day. They're kind of now, like, resurfacing. I don't know what's happening with them.
I feel like also, who else kind of did that? Rob Zombie.
Yeah,
he did a lot
definitely.
of experimenting with like the sonics of, like, dance music, and, like, he's kind of metal, I guess.
You had you had that Korn album with a lot of different DJs. I think they did a thing with Skrillex and other different artists. I think Excision was on there also, So I think, like, again, like, this has been out there, but it's been I just think it's been kind of, like, not done in the degree that I think it could be. And I think that's what I was trying to pursue with protest art, is really trying to expand that idea of meshing metal at the chaos of, like, metal and the very similar chaos of something like dubstep.
Absolutely. It really is that. And I think, like, a lot of people love, like, EDM music because it kind of, like, feeds into this, like, animalistic chaos a little bit of, like, what they of what people really like about the genre in the first place. And it's the same with metal.
Yeah.
Like, it really does go hand in hand. But, candy bracelets and spikes really can go together.
Yep.
And I think they go together swimmingly. So
I think so too. I think it's going to be a good mix, whatever. I don't know what I was trying to say. I think it's going to be a good mix. And I mean, I have to say, like, listening back to my album, now that, or really the EP, now that it's done, like, I listened to it, and I feel really good about it. You know, I feel really confident in the work that we did. I feel like, you know, if we were to show up on a random shuffle, you'd be able to pick us out of a crowd.
Same.
Can I just fill your audience in on like the last like 48 hours? Please. Like,
I don't know if it's gonna make Final Cut, but sure.
I'm just gonna talk about it.
Whatever,
So like
do it. Exercise yourself. Release yourself.
Last night was my album release party for this.
The album is not released yet. This is like a preemptive
pre-release.
Pre-release,
Although probably by the time this podcast is out,
it'll be out.
January 10th, stream it. But
this podcast is actually coming out, I think. No, it's not. It's not. Just
whatever.
Kidding.
So
yeah, it'll have been out for about a week by the time this comes out. Yes.
Perfect. So I mean, like, you guys maybe have even heard it already. What was my train of thought there?
The last 48 hours.
48 hours. Okay, so like, we had this pre-album release party, and first on Friday, I woke up 2 days before this show, and found myself sick, and I freaked out. I went into a panic. I was like, oh my God, I have this show scheduled and I'm gonna sound like crap and I don't know what to do. And I freaked out and I went to urgent care and I told the doctor, I was like, Doc, listen, like, I don't care what you need to do, just get me through my show. And she dredged up some drug out of the bowels of Chernobyl and gave me this pill that it was just the Magic Johnson treatment. Like, I was golden for the next 48 hours. Like, I felt great.
It is now 72 hours, just about.
Right. And right on cue, this morning I woke up after my show and I was sick as shit. Am I allowed to curse?
Yeah.
Yeah? Should I avoid it?
I talked about my pussy in the beginning.
That's correct. Okay, so your kombucha flavored pussy. So then, like, not even 20 hours before the show, I mean, 1 o'clock in the morning, the venue that we were supposed to play at messaged us and canceled on us via text message at 1 a.m. And we had to then quickly find a new venue within like 5 hours of that message, like waking up from that message. So last night was the show. We got it all together. We did it. And now I'm here and the drugs have worn off and I am sick, but I made it and nothing stops me.
He's running on like a shot of kombucha and a dream right now.
That is it. Like the kombucha, a little bit of Mucinex, and just praying that I make it through.
God bless you. Hashem. All right. So one last question before we go deep dive your lyrics.
Sure.
So what inspired you to start this project in the first place? Like what made you wake up one day and you were like, this is my new project and this is what I'm going to be working on for the foreseeable future as my like main creative project that I want to put time into and money?
Well, I'll tell you, it was probably a longer process than, you know, like an overnight thing, right? I mean, there were a couple songs that I had written out for a while, you know, When It All Comes Crashing Down, Why Are We Like This? Those songs I had written for, honestly, years. And there was a point in my life where I was very alone. You know,
solitary more so, or like just actually like alone.
Like actually alone. Like me and my family had just lost our house, and I was living on my own for the first time after losing everything in that house. You know, like I had like every toy I ever grew up with, every stuffed animal I ever had, gone overnight. You know, and I was just kind of alone with my thoughts in my apartment, you know, for the first time, and had a lot of pain of losing all that, and I didn't really know where to put those feelings. And this is already, you know, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And I think the first one that came to me was Why Are We Like This? Because I really, and we'll obviously go into lyrical deep dive on that, but, I really kind of wrote that about my parents in a lot of ways, and how they split up, and how that kind of affected me in the long run. And I think that kind of led to the song When It All Comes Crashing Down, which is, kind of similarly in that vein of like parents trying to justify their actions to their kids. And over time, those melodies kind of stuck with me, and I kept humming them, and I kept writing lyrics, even though I didn't really have any way of producing it.
What year was this when you started kind of, I guess, not necessarily writing for the project specifically, but like you were writing essentially for the project?
Probably back, honestly, probably all the way back in like 2018, 2019. Like that's how far back those songs go.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like they were really just for me at that point. I didn't know if I was ever going to do anything with them. I just knew that like, my outlet is writing. It's always been writing. And, when I couldn't write a script and I had to kind of write something on the fly and just kind of express it, they came out in lyrics.
Yeah.
So those lyrics started me off. And then I think it was, realistically, I mean, probably during the first Trump administration, I was having a lot of difficulty during that time because I very much disagreed with what was going on.
Yeah.
And again, like, I really don't want this to be by party. I do disagree with him as a political figure and his rhetoric.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to the Republican Party in general, but him as a person does really bother me, and I think that he's an inappropriate candidate for president. And I thought that back then as well, and I thought that his behavior and rhetoric in office was vehemently against what I believed. And I started chasing those themes, and I think On TV probably came next, although that originally was two different songs.
And then you combined them.
And I eventually combined them when it was time to do the album. When I actually like realized I could do the album was I was actually working a sound gig.
Yeah.
This was only last year, actually.
Sure.
But I had accumulated a lot of songs, at that point. I had been writing a lot of stuff at that point, and I just kept writing and writing and writing, and I really had no place to do anything. Like I couldn't do anything with the songs at that point except just keep writing them.
And you were like sending them to me and Mina,
Yeah.
reading your lyrics. Honestly, like me and Mina would like read the lyrics out to each other during like random K barbecue days that me and her would just go on.
Yeah.
Just to make it clear, like we live very far from Sam, so he is more than invited every time we go to K barbecue. But alas, sometimes he is about like 2 to 3 hours away from where we live.
The joys of living in the Long Island. But I was on the sound gig, and funny enough, the BTS photographer in between shots saw me writing lyrics, and she goes, "Do you need a producer?" And
that's how you connected with X?
Yeah, that's how I connected with X, Ekis, if anybody wants to look him up. And
very cool dude, by the way.
Very cool dude, incredibly talented. I mean, the guy is really, really skilled. He knows his shit.
He's
and
incredible,
I think
I mean, he really like brought, your stuff to life. I mean, it is like very well produced.
Yes.
Like well put together. Like
I am totally blessed to have made his acquaintance, and honestly, we vibed pretty fast. I mean, it took like 2 songs, and then we kind of figured out, we got into a stride of like, oh, we have an idea of where this is going.
Yeah,
And that brought us to our first single, which was New Normal.
We're going to get to the part now where we lyrically deep dive. So we're going to start with When It All Comes Crashing Down. I think that's the first one on the on the album. So it's kind of like a capitalism apocalypse story. Like it almost gives me like a comic book vibe a little bit, the way you like kind of depict the lyrics like in that. Like it's very novella-esque.
Well, again, like
it has like a story structure in it.
Yeah, like again, like I approached writing these like I was writing a script. I mean, I think that's also part of what might help differentiate me in the long run too. Is I think that, when I approached the album, I very much approached it like I was talking about characters and these people kind of living through this event, of when it all comes crashing down, and that title track, I mean, like I said, that was one of the first tracks that really, came to fruition. But it really, for me, it's telling the story of this father who is trying to justify his actions to his child, and the world just looks horrific. And he's having trouble justifying what his kid is looking at. Yeah. There's lyrics in that, the sky is septic, but the end was epic. Yeah. And like this idea that, we have just polluted and corrupted the world into this kind of unrecognizable state.
Right.
And this father is just trying to communicate to his kid, like, you don't need to be scared because I still love you. But I'm not sure that's enough. Yeah. I'm not actually sure that love will be enough to get these characters out of the situation that they're in. And I think that's kind of the fear that's rooted in that song is, I think from the kid's perspective, the kid is looking at this like, I don't recognize you, and I don't recognize the world as it's been described to me. Yeah. I mean, I think, there's a big theme on this album, of course, of media and the media that we consume.
Of course, yeah.
And I think, one of the things that I really try to illustrate is, the media that we watch paints a certain depiction of the world. And then when we actually go out into that world, it's a much different depiction, whether it's opposite in a good way or opposite in a bad way. It's still not really the depiction that we're getting when we're watching it online, or on TV. And I think that's why it's like so jarring for this character in that first song is like, I don't understand what I'm looking at, like the world is ending and, mom's gone, I'm missing fingers. I mean, we're like...
That's actually like the one, the line that like really kind of struck me in this. So we're, in this deep dive, I picked lyrics out from every single song that I'm like, oh, these are the lyrics that I personally like and want to discuss.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'm ready.
You're ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So, 'cause I know the sky is supposed to be blue, and I can count your fingers, you're missing a few. Just know that I love you and mommy too. We'll survive the night. I know we will. Just stay with me. And then it goes, stay with me, stay with me, stay with me. So, like, that's very visual.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. Like jarringly visual where it's like shit, you're missing finger? Like, people are missing fucking fingers.
The sky isn't blue.
And the sky isn't blue. It's septic, obviously.
Right.
Like, it looks like shit.
Yes.
Look in a dictionary. Google it.
Yeah, I think we all, again, like regardless of party, I think we could look outside right now and see that we're not on the right track. I think whether it's polluting the atmosphere or the economic disparity between classes, I think anybody could just objectively, regardless of party, be like, something's wrong here. And I think I just wanted to take that track and fast track it, right? And like, okay, if we're actually on this pathway right now, what does that look like 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now? Mm-hmm. And how bad does that actually get,
Right.
And that vision unfortunately became more apocalyptic the further down the line I got.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of the music that I write is very existential. It's talking about this kind of existential fears
Yeah.
that I think all of us share.
Absolutely.
And none of us want that outcome,
No.
you know? Again, it doesn't really matter the party. None of us want to see the world turn to that. And I think this was my way of trying to reflect that back and say, like, we don't want this reality. And, you know, if we want to look up and find a black and brown sky,
Yeah.
you know, the world will have already fallen apart by that point. And we're going to be fighting for food. We might be missing fingers, you know.
I mean, they're already projecting that within this year. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
I mean, even like...
I gotta go out and buy some fucking lentils and you know, I gotta figure out what food's gonna look like for me. I'm a little scared for that. I also, if the realism of like the tariffs, like I'm only going on things that have been said and not even just like projections of things. Like I'm only going on like the things that have been promised by the candidates that have been elected and things with like tariffs. Like my main day job, it'll make budgeting for that extraordinarily hard to the point where it might actually ruin my personal freelance business in a way. Like luckily I have other talents that I can kind of like capitalize on that I have materials for already. But doing like, you know, set designing and picking things out for people and doing that, if the prices of things go up, I mean, like, we're just not going to have the material goods. And well, what's it going to turn into? Like the Italian neorealism or French New Wave, where everything's like, oh, we have real things because we don't have you know, the economics for props and the economics for really nice costumes, so we're going to film real things. That was like the whole idea behind the Italian neorealist and simultaneous as it was going on the French New Wave movement of film. So I guess maybe we're gonna see an American realism movement, which I don't think has really happened in American film because of like just like the whole golden age of Hollywood effect. Like everything in America is always just like flamboyant, over the top. I don't think we've ever had an actual era of like just real bare minimum. Even if things are indie, it's still extra as fuck.
Well, I think that's part of the problem of today's media also, is it's become so saturated that everything has to do everything in its power to stand out. And, you know, I think shock and pizzazz only gets you so far, you know?
Wow.
And
that's bold and brave to say to me. In my presence? How dare you say that? Why would you say something so bold yet so brave?
Cori, you managed to retain your shock value no matter the
I'm
day,
currently
no
booing
matter
you.
the week. You are always the most shocking thing in the room.
That's crazy. I don't know whether to be offended or super happy.
No, you should be happy. You are always the standout.
Oh, slay. I'm like Ariana Grande. I'm like the most interesting person in a room. Yeah.
Thank you. Next. But
So stupid. Okay.
Whatever.
The tangent of it all.
I don't know what we're talking about anymore.
No one mourns the wicked.
No.
We've been changed for good. I need to hold space. I need to hold space right now.
Understood. There you go.
So New Normal was the lead single.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and this is everything that was in order on the lyric sheet is for sure like going to be in the order on the album. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So
minus Freak Show.
Minus Freak Show,
Yes.
but we're not going to talk about them. Unless you want to talk about it for a second, just
I mean,
to give
okay.
a preview or whatever.
Yeah, sure. Maybe at the end.
Into the next era. But I
Yeah.
think you're kind of like delving into this era. Like,
Yeah.
Are you gonna maybe like release like another? I know this is kind of more of an EP. Are you gonna release like a second EP, almost like a two-parter kind of thing at the end of the year?
So really what we're looking at right now is I wrote the next album already.
Right.
And
it's not produced.
It's not produced
course,
yet,
so.
but it is written. It's 14 songs and a cover.
Oh, so it's
an album.
It's a whole album.
It's a whole album.
Oh, okay.
And it is something that I'm going to start working on this year.
Maybe a couple singles in the fall?
You'll definitely get a couple singles. Probably actually sooner than later, believe it or not. Like the cover that I want to do is definitely coming soon. That's probably the first thing that thing is the cover I'd really like to start introducing at our live shows. I think it would be a fun crowd pleaser, and I also think that
I'm a bitch for covers, so.
Yeah, I mean, so is everybody. I love them.
Stoked. No, there's a lot of people that are like so anti-cover, like especially in the DIY space. They're like, why am I going to cover? I need people to pay attention to what I'm writing, not what somebody else wrote for me. But I really think that there's a lot of like proving yourself and doing a cover real good.
I think it's also too like it depends on the cover that you pick, right? Because I think like the cover that I'm going to start introducing at live shows, hopefully within the next like month or two, is Buffalo Springfield's For What It's Worth.
Cool.
And I want to kind of modernize that and turn it into my kind of style. But that is a statement piece. And
I love renewing, something old, something borrowed.
And the thing is, too, is like I think what's so fascinating about a lot of these statement pieces is how well they age, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Buffalo Springfield, maybe stylistically doesn't sound like it could be written today, but if you were to just take those lyrics and put them somewhere else, I don't think it's, all that different from the problems that we're dealing with right now. So I think that that's probably something that I'm going to be introducing at live shows very soon. The one thing I will say, though, is that the next album is definitely continuing with the idea of like being a concept album. This EP, hopefully you guys have listened to it already. If you haven't, check it out. But when you listen to it in full, it flows directly together. The songs kind of flow right into one another because, like I said, or like we've discussed, like it's telling a story and it's trying to depict this kind of order of events as they happen.
Right. So let's delve into New Normal.
Yeah.
So New Normal is the second thing, and it was the first single that was released. I had the glory of being the art director on the music video, and I also cam-opped the other two performance videos.
Performance videos, yeah.
Yeah. Just to throw that in there to the audience of my involvement in the project. So let's actually start off. I wrote, I put down like two like lyrics from this.
Sure.
So first one is, it's the end of the world and I know it and I want to have a good time. I want to walk into the afterlife laughing with the Antichrist. Ugh, there's a part of me that just wants to scream it, but I know I'm just going to peak the audio and it'll just sound terrible. Like anytime I like scream or rap, I just sound like Gabby Hanna and it's like really embarrassing, but I just kind of live like that.
I think you sound great.
Okay. You haven't heard it. You haven't heard it.
That's full disclosure. I have not heard it, but I'm sure it sounds great.
It sounds like Gabby Hanna. And that's just not what I'm going for. The curse of being a mezzo soprano. Yeah, talk about that for a second.
So, New Normal is interesting because I think it's one of the first times that I think I'm speaking directly from Big Mouth's voice. And in the beginning of the song, like just before those lines, actually, there's an announcer that comes on. He says that, get ready for our national anthem. And right after that is It's the End of the World.
Which is like kind of a Marilyn Manson reference.
Well, sure. I mean, look, Manson definitely, I'm not like, Manson obviously had a lot of influence.
It's littered all over the place. Like,
but
Yeah.
I think with that in particular, though, for me, the commentary taking Manson out of it, because I don't want to feel like, I don't want to compare myself completely to him.
I should have worn my Manson shirt today just for you.
You know, I should have worn mine too,
Yeah.
but whatever. With that song, like, I felt like that was kind of Big Mouth, like, you know, in the music video at the podium. And, you know, I think that was kind of in response to what was going on in this election cycle. You know, like, I think the media and either party was very hyperbolic of each other's rhetoric.
It was also kind of prophecy foretold, because you do get murdered, like killed at the podium in the music video.
Yes.
And this was before the attempt.
Yes. And I felt like this was a really unique way to comment on, like, how much power the bully pulpit has.
Yeah.
You know, and how to, like, sit there and influence huge swaths of people, you know, by saying kind of inflammatory things. You know, it's the end of the world and I know it and I want to have a good time, you know, is kind of like, I don't think it's the reality of what's happening in this moment, but I think in their moment, you know, they kind of, this character kind of inflames and scares and uses that to control these people.
Yeah.
You know,
and it works.
And it works. Absolutely, it works.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And just to kind of like throw in, I keep hearing in my head, laughing at the Antichrist.
Yes.
Like, I literally like walk around my house going, why can't I just be normal?
That's all I want to hear.
I walk around the house like screaming, and Hannah tells me, shut up. That like new normal, and then rapping like a bunch of Doechii lyrics is like my stim jingles
so cool
right now.
You know, it's so funny. New Normal, what was so funny about this track is it actually came together really fast. Like, most of the other tracks, like, took a couple weeks to, like, conceive and fully put together.
Yeah.
This song, like, honestly came together in, like, 2-3 weeks. Like,
I remember
like,
this one was like a really fast conceiving and birthing. And
X and I just kind of, I think this was their song where we just totally hit our stride. We were like,
Absolutely.
oh, this is
the one.
This is the sound.
Yeah.
You know, and all of the music on this album, you know, kind of branched off of this sound after this song.
Absolutely.
And
even the breakdown at the end, like that's like that sets the tone of it all.
Yeah. And you know, I think for this track too, like, there's a lot of world building going on in this track. I think a lot of this album has a lot of world building going on in it. But I think that it's one of the most important tracks on the CP, because I think what it does is it really sets the tone for what these characters in this world were seeing.
Yeah.
You know, and what they were directly hearing and experiencing. And hopefully, like, it's something that people could, like, listen to it and understand, like, how I'm pointing out the hyperbolic nature of these pundits or candidates or, you know, these kind of Carnival Barker-esque characters in media.
Yeah, like this, like fake celebrity, like
going
against the grain of like hyper contrarian.
Yes.
I would even go as far as
that's a great word,
mention.
actually. Yeah, great phrasing for that. Yeah.
Hyper contrarian, and going on the hyper contrarian of it all, like conspiracy theory like circles.
Yeah.
I kind of wrote here like a lot of like left leaning males in that circle. They talk about mostly like I would take this from like TikToks that I saw, but also like a lot of like males in real life that I've spoken to, that I interact with regularly. A lot of them, like before the election, they were. I was like, don't you want like to fix the world? Like, you know, I don't know. And they're like, you know what? Would it be so bad if the world just fucking burned?
Yeah, I'm so sick of that.
Would it be so bad if we just let it all
come crashing down?
Crashing down?
Yeah.
You know, because like it already sucks how much more could it suck? And
It
it's
could
like
suck
you have
way
no
worse.
fucking idea.
Yeah.
You could go hungry, you know, like
Lose your fingers and the sky could be black.
Yeah, and it's like, well, I already feel like I'm losing this and that, and it's like, no, you feel it. It's not your reality yet, and you'll never feel any gratitude until you lose what you had in the first place. And
I think honestly, going back to like the media aspect of things, I think that
like I feel like it almost fulfilled a it was fulfilling a prophecy that like these people want destruction to feel vindicated.
Yes.
And
well, it's just like it's so nihilistic, and I also feel like when I do my doom scroll, as we all do, right? I mean, like I feel like
is doom scroll. That's like half of my job of researching.
I mean, even that term, doom scrolling, right? Like the thing is like I feel like when I'm like looking at memes, they're constantly like they're funny. Don't get me wrong, I laugh, but like the constant reinforcement is everything sucks and you should be lazy and not do shit because it's all gonna fuck over. It's all gonna be fucked anyway.
Like we literally live in Kekistan right now.
Well, I mean, that's what they want, right? That's what
Which sucks. Like, what? Like, why does everyone have to live in Kekistan? Like, go ahead, live in the world of Kek, and go be a little like Nazi and heil whoever you want, but don't bring me into it.
Well, it's also
and now
just,
I have been brought into it.
I just, nihilism is funny if you understand it's a joke.
Yeah.
And I feel like also
we've
like
lost the plot.
We've lost the plot. I mean, like, like you said, like it could get so much worse. And honestly, quite possibly it might get worse this year.
Yeah.
And I feel like I know that that's not the world that I want to see, and it's not the world I want for my friends or for my family. And I know that the only thing I could do is paint that picture and reflect it back, and hopefully people want to avoid that as much as possible.
Right. Like I think one of my favorite things that I saw like on your stories, I think it was mostly on your personal stories, but whatever was public, you were kind of like rehashing Slaughterhouse-5, Kurt Vonnegut, about like this was like over the summer. I unfortunately lost my version of that, but I plan on rereading Slaughterhouse-5 again, and just hearing you read it out loud. Like I read this book a really, really, really long time ago, so it was like kind of like almost like a hipster fascination.
I'm so sorry.
Now I have to start over.
I'm so sorry. Hey, Mason, I'm in the middle of being interviewed right now. Can I call you back?
Of course, yeah.
All right. It's going to be a while. Are you off? Are you on break? Okay, I'll call you later. Bye. I'm going to turn my volume off. I'm so sorry.
Put it on Do Not Disturb right fucking now.
I'm putting it on Do Not Disturb. I'm so sorry.
I'm keeping that in the show, by the way.
I'm so sorry.
It's over. It's over.
Oh my God. Why am I like this?
Sorry, I got so dramatic for no reason. I got dramatic for the lulls of it. So like Slaughterhouse-5, I feel like when I first read that that novel, it was more out of like hipster like pleasure. I didn't really like understand like the comparisons and what it was kind of like really getting at in the statement that it was really supposed to be making. But when I heard you kind of like talking about it and like really connecting it to our current state and current day, like that kind of like really made me think about it.
Yeah.
Like a lot more. Like I'm definitely going to give it like another read. And it is a very quick read, but it's a very girthy, meaty read.
The thing with Slaughterhouse-5 is when I read that book, it kind of felt like I was slapped in the face.
Yeah.
And that is my favorite feeling of, wow, like I just read something that was so powerful, it like knocked me out of my socks. Like very rarely do I read something that really like shakes me like that, and Slaughterhouse-5 very much did. And I think what's so interesting about his perspective is his perspective is kind of just like he had so much belief in humans and was so disappointed at how we did things.
Yeah.
But like the belief was still there.
Right.
And I think like that's what I took away most from it is like the world is an unfair and devastatingly unfair place, you know, and all you can do is work to make it better. And whether that be through writing something like Slaughterhouse-Five or, you know, just expressing those themes in any way that you can, I just feel like that book just kind of exemplifies that so well. You know, I mean, it really like, I remember finishing it. You know, I remember finishing it, like reading the last line, and like, I think like the book is kind of structured like a joke.
It is.
You know, like it's kind of structured like a giant joke. And the last line is kind of the punchline. And the thing is like, it's got to be one of the most effective punchlines ever written. You know, in the sense that it's funny and also so devastating in the same moment.
Yeah.
At the same time. And I definitely took a lot of inspiration from that book, even if it's not like totally perceivable in the album.
That's the one where it's everything is beautiful and nothing hurt.
Yes, Pooty Tweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I did really get a lot out of that book, and funny enough, actually, for Christmas this year, my sister got me the entire Kurt Vonnegut collection.
Oh, so you got Breakfast of Champions.
I got Breakfast of Champions and all of them. I'm really excited to kind of delve into that. But I'm currently reading The Stand, which is a book that doesn't end. It just goes, and I think he's still writing it. I think it's just a continuous book.
Beyond the grave.
The Stand is Stephen King.
Oh, you're talking about Stephen King. Okay.
And like I'm reading that right now, and I'm trying to finish it, and it's just so long, and I'm reading it like a lot every day, and it still just keeps going and going and going and going and going.
My ADD will never allow it.
I'm determined to finish the book. I'm going to finish it.
God bless you.
And
that was like me with The Count of Monte Cristo on a bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I was like
Oh,
so.
God.
Yeah. This boy that I had a crush on at the time like lent it to me, and it took me a whole like I gave it back to him like almost 2 years later, because it took me like a while, but you know, between all my studies and stuff in high school to like read over 1,000 pages, because it was just a lot of shit.
I'm on page like 650 something.
Yeah.
In The Stand, and that's not even halfway.
God.
And what was so funny is one of my friends from high school, I posted that I just started reading the book, and one of my friends from high school posted like, "Oh, you're reading it too? I just picked it up also." And
good luck.
She sent me a picture, and I noticed it was like a slightly different copy. So I looked at it, and my copy's actually the extended version.
Oy vey is me.
Which I didn't realize when I picked it up. Like,
more content.
Yay.
All right.
But,
so back to New Normal anyway, because we had a little literary aside, which does go with the song itself, the writing of it, which, you know, fuck it, let's spend more time on your single, because, you know, it really sets the tone for the entirety of the EP itself.
Thank you.
But here's one more from the same song from New Normal. Sure. Roaming the wreckage of the reckless, hear the cries of the dead and restless. Even hell feels cool under our sun when you're on fire and there's nowhere to run.
Yes.
These lyrics are hard as fuck.
Thank you.
That's what I wrote. I was like, this is hard as hell.
I appreciate that so much. Yeah, I mean, I think those lyrics really just continue the themes from the first song. Yeah, you know, in the sense that it's over, right? The world has kind of ended, and they're roaming the wreckage of the reckless, you know, in the sense that, you know, the people that we left in charge weren't responsible with their power.
Yeah.
And, you know, we are now just in the aftermath of that. And, you know, also feeding into the fears of climate change, which I think are, you know, huge existential threats for us, you know, both on the album, but also in real life. You know, I mean, I'm very concerned about that. It wasn't even, I mean, I think it was not even 2 years ago. You know, in New York, we had literally a red sky.
Yeah.
You know, from all of the
We couldn't breathe. It was
right. I mean, we literally had an air pollution warning.
Problem.
And I think we had the similar thing going on in Washington State.
Yeah.
You know, and we had all these like, you know, horrific climate events going on that are literally happening right above us, you know, and
Right.
I think, you know, even hell feels cool under our sun when you're on fire and there's nowhere to run is like, this is kind of a weird digression, but
Sure.
it does like kind of influence this line a lot. But, you know, when I was growing up, my mom put this idea in my head that we might already be in hell.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like the what is that? The Bad Place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I found that kind of be like over the years, like, I really wanted to play with that idea of like, you know,
What if we're already in the bad place?
What if we are already in the bad place? And then like that line kind of like fed out of that was like, like hell would actually be a relief to compared to what we're experiencing right now.
Oh yeah.
Which, you know, again goes to like, it could get so much worse. You know, it could get so much worse. I mean, generally speaking, I'd say like, I'm probably more on the agnostic side of things. You know, I don't generally believe in a higher power, but at the same time, I've also experienced things that are too coincidental.
Yeah.
You know, and
Beyond the realm of understanding.
right. You know, so I don't completely rule it out, but at the same time, I also feel like it's not something I'm afraid of because I'm not at that bridge yet.
Yeah.
You know, and right now, you know, if I picture like the life that these characters are living, that sounds way more frightening than any hell I could kind of picture.
I'd say so.
You know, so I mean that's kind of where that line actually like really originated from.
Yeah.
And you know, I think it's one of the most important lines on the record. I think actually, and I love screaming it too. Like I love when the breakdown happens.
Back at
like
you during shows.
You know, when that drum comes in. Yeah, I love doing that. So it's definitely a relief when that comes up.
Where to ride?
Yeah.
But also, Big Mouth is kind of like would you say he also kind of like is like an incel type of dude? Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I feel like even in the song, like he seems like he's very mad, which also aligns with a lot of incels. Like they seem like it's very mad at a lot of the right things that like you should be mad about. Like they're so fucking close.
So close.
So close, but
it's
but
diagnosing the problem and finding the wrong solution.
Yeah, it gets.
Yeah.
It just doesn't quite get there. Like,
Yeah.
and you pray for them to like, right? Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
You're right there.
Glinda, right? but then you're like, and then that's
And they just miss it.
That's the
just miss the
conclusion.
mark.
Like swing and a miss.
Yeah.
My God. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how to, and then they're like, well, actually, what have you ever thought of this? And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's some liberal fucking pussy bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, why would you even bring that up to me? Like, that's just, like,
Yeah.
read a book.
I will say though, like
Read a motherfucking book.
with like New Normal, right? Like,
Like, do you think it's like an education problem, a class problem? Like, what the fuck is wrong? Where are we going wrong?
I could answer that.
Can you?
I can. And I'll tell you why.
Tell me.
We started watching people watch TV.
Oh, wow. And, oh, God. I wish that was the very next
I
thing
know, it would
on
be
there.
really convenient for you.
That would have been
but,
such a great crossover.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
okay.
so
It's
On
all gonna
TV
be
is
the
the
same
fourth
thing.
song on the album. But I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's actually the truth of like where all of our problems are coming from. In the sense that, there was a time, right, when there was, 3 news channels?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There,
At least locally.
right. And, Cronkite was on, a third of the country was watching him at the same time. We all kind of shared that reality.
Yeah.
Now, the news is so opinionated on either side, whether you're watching MSNBC or whether you're watching Fox, they're so polar opposites of what they are perceiving,
Yeah.
and they could literally be talking about the same story and be completely different stories.
Yeah.
You know, and that leads to so much confusion.
Yeah.
You know, and also like going back to that line, new normal, right, is like the reckless. You know, like I don't think it's just politicians that are being reckless.
It's
you
everyone.
know, it's everyone. It's, you know, it's
And they're just giving into it and reckless with reckless abandon and
absolutely.
and they're just engaging in the evil of it all.
Yes.
Have you actually oh, I hate to make this reference, but it's one of my favorite Adam Sandler movies.
Oh God. Okay.
I know. You're gonna hate me. Little Nicky.
Never seen it. I know.
Watch Little Nicky because honestly, I feel like it almost like looks a lot like what we're doing right now. Like literally, I'm yelling to the fucking universe, Cassius, get him back in the flask. Like, get back in the flask. And it's like, where's Little Nicky when you need him? Like he was our 1990s like, you know, like superhero. Why are we like this?
Yeah.
We're going to move on to that. I'm going to start off with just the quote that I put for it because I didn't have any notes on it, but we'll delve into it because we also did the music video.
Performance video.
Performance video, but it also featured our friend Abby Gumper, who we work with consistently.
She's also hearable on the track.
Yes, she's on the track and she's in the video as like your love interest, which really tickles me to no end. But you know, we love.
I mean, how could you not love Abby?
We all love Abby.
I mean, I could easily make her my love interest.
I know, she's all our love interest. She's our sweet little girl next door.
Yeah.
She's everything. So love to Abby Gumper. We love you, girl. So here's the quote. I want to see you scare me like I haven't been frightened before. I want to see you leave me like I haven't been alone before. Because every time you threaten to go, I'll wait here for you alone. So I've heard you kind of connect this to a different sort of story, but I know that in the lyric video you kind of made it like a forbidden love tale.
Yeah, I mean.
So what was it like kind of based on for you, and how did you kind of come to the conclusion of making it like forbidden love, like incel love tale that like, you know, like he's yearning for this girl and whatever?
You know, I think that's also part of like, I think the song could have multiple different interpretations.
Absolutely.
You know, I think when I originally wrote the song, it was, I'm sure you've heard, like when I originally wrote the song, it was kind of, I mean, again, like that was the first song I wrote for the album. And
Really?
Yeah. And the thing with that song is I mostly kind of wrote it at the time about my parents. You know, I said in the show last night, you know, when you're a kid, your parents are your whole world.
Right.
And if they fight and break up, it's kind of like the whole world is falling apart on you. And for me, I kind of wrote this song from like my parents' perspective, but like also from the perspective of these parents in this world. And funny enough, like a lot of the beat is actually made with like the sounds of war.
Yeah.
Like there's sounds of like planes flying overhead and things burning in the background and bombs going off. I really wanted to illustrate that sense of like, it's all falling apart because I perceive you falling apart.
Right.
I think that's still translatable to like the forbidden love in a sense, you know, because
Right.
I think that like when we're looking at the performance video, I think their love is falling apart rather than being it forbidden. I think it's just it's run its course.
Because it seems like it was like kind of like a fantasy all in his head, and
Right.
like she wasn't real, like it wasn't like a real fantasy really. It was,
I think his
it was, like, more
idea
yearning.
I think his idea of what the relationship could be
Yeah.
didn't match up with the reality,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that's really where the struggle of that song comes from. Is I so wanted this to work and it just didn't.
Would you say that? I know you're not a straight dude, but like, would you say that men in general still yearn the way females do, or?
It's tough.
From
I
your
think
own personal
I think
perspective.
I think love has changed a lot,
Yeah.
you know, and funny enough, it's a big topic on the next album, honestly.
Yeah, which I'm so fucking ready for, by
I
the
know
way.
you are.
It's very up my alley. It's like my micro obsession right now is like how people view relationships, because it's just so different. It's changed before my very eyes, and it's very confusing, but you know, you rise to the occasion. I treat it like a sociological experiment really at this point, so
My thing is I'm concerned that people don't believe in love anymore.
yeah.
You know, I think that there's this lie that it's kind of unattainable.
Which is not fucking true, by the way.
No.
I love very many things, and I love all of the time.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever doubted love for a minute.
And
So
I think I think, you know, going back to your point of like, I think it's very much doubted in the straight male community.
yeah.
You know, I think
Do you think
that
it's like thought of as being like super gay? Like, is it rooted in that?
no,
like,
I think it's
homophobia?
rooted
Like,
in insecurity.
wow.
I think honestly, I mean, this might be a hot take, but I actually think it's because of porn. You know, I think porn has kind of, you know, and especially the now like huge accessibility to porn. You know, like I think it's kind of distorted what people find as valuable. You know, I mean, I would even say this in my community too. I'm a gay man. I identify as gay, and you know, when I first started dating, right, Grindr was the first app I ever went on. And okay, maybe like when I was a teenager I went on Hot or Not, but I mean like Grindr was really the first app that I ever went on. And either one of those apps really, but Grindr in particular, because I think it is unhealthy. It equates your
Which
value.
is predominantly mostly like men and people who have male body parts.
Yes.
On that app.
Yes, and I'd say that app really, I mean, works hard, honestly, to equate your value with your sex appeal.
Yeah.
And I'd say porn has done a lot of that too. Is it, you know, you are only valuable if you're a certain size, if you have a certain physique, if you have a certain look in your face, and I just don't believe that. You know, in almost all the relationships that I've had in my life, they've kind of been in people that I didn't expect to be in that relationship with.
Yeah.
And I think that this idea, like, you know, this idea that, like, there's so many men that are, like, involuntarily celibate right now, they're being lied to.
Which, by the way, a lot of people are voluntarily celibate. They're really just like being fucking dicks. I really think anybody can fuck anybody if they really wanted to. And if anybody wants to rise to an occasion can be risen.
Yeah, I mean, look, if your brain has been warped so badly online that you think that you're entitled to sex and that you don't have to work for it and that women are just a commodity, well, you're not going to get sex, you know?
Right.
I mean, like, that's just the reality.
And not to mention, like, the people who are just acting, too. I mean, I've seen, without shouting anybody out, I was exposed to a piece of media the other day that it was, like, one of those podcasters, and he's, like, you know, giving advice to the incels, and he's like, well, you got to show these women what they want to see. You got to feed their fantasy of what they want, and then you're going to get the girl. And you can do it that way you want. That's how you get them, but you can add them to your roster. You can add them to make them your girlfriend, or you can throw them away after you've gotten what you wanted. But the way to get them is to feed a fantasy and make a fantasy happen, and you know, you just got to be an actor, which, you know, is like, yeah, that's the realism of it, but like, why are you making that like your main rhetoric that you're sharing as like, it's harmful.
It's also
harmful to
wrong, right? It's also wrong, right?
Because well, like, morally, you
well,
know?
no, but I mean, like, in the sense that
we have a values and moral dilemma.
They're talking about acting.
Yes.
Right? They're talking about acting a part.
Yes.
That's not love.
No.
You know, that's you know, that's pretending to be a figure.
People are gonna get so mad that I just said this, but that's okay. I don't give a fuck.
Who cares? We're edgy. That's right. Yeah, just jerk off on him. Fuck him. Pull a Kevin Feige.
Oh, who?
The guy running Marvel. Because I was talking to Miles before about. Never mind. Kevin Feige just jerking off on people. Never mind. Don't worry about it.
Is jerking off on people wrong?
No. No, as long as they give their consent.
Consent is key. Okay, that one went somewhere I didn't expect it to go.
Sorry, you're right.
God. Sorry, I just slap it out of me.
Whoa.
It was getting so...
Getting hot in here.
I get so dramatic around you because I know you take it. Okay, we're going to go on TV. Talking about dramatics. Oh my God. Ah! Oh, you didn't slap your head.
You're right. I'm sorry. I wasn't
I can do it in the edit. I got to try it again one more time.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness. Are you all right?
No.
Oh.
You slapped me.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I just got so taken away. When I'm good, I'm good. But when I'm bad, I have a venereal disease.
Oh. Stay away. I don't care how sweet it is.
Venereal disease or kombucha pussy. You never know the difference. So we're going to talk about on TV. That was a Drag Race reference, by the way, so it goes into it perfectly. Gotta stroke the elite, have to fund their time, because you don't matter if you can't make them a dime.
Yep.
Oh, honey.
Yeah.
Oh, honey.
Yeah.
Oh, honey. Oh, honey.
Honey.
Is that so fucking true now, though?
Yes.
No, well, yes, it's very fucking true.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about the struggle bus real brief, because I know it's very straightforward, and you know we'll touch it for a sec, but like, fuck it, like gonna hear me.
So I mean, on TV, like, you know, like we touched on a little bit before, like it's very much a song criticizing the media and their role in kind of dividing people. You know, I also think too, like, you know, the chorus of that song is "We're watching people watch TV, but where's the audience watching me?" And it's the sense of like, does everybody deserve a platform?
It's kind of like the TikTok of it all.
Yeah.
Which is going away, apparently.
Apparently, we'll see.
In 9 days from when this podcast comes out.
We'll see. I'm sure they're going to finagle it where it's fine. We'll see, though.
I don't know. It doesn't really seem promising. Not that I need it. Like honestly, like it's low key just like another dopamine drug to me. So like if it's taken away, like good riddance. Honestly, like I'm happy. Like this podcast doesn't really go on TikTok anyway. It goes on Spotify and YouTube and like maybe Apple Music if I give a fuck enough.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Are you yawning at me?
I'm so sorry.
I'm just kidding. So on TV.
So yeah. So on TV, I mean, like it's definitely like, you know, like the idea of we're watching people watch TV is like I think rather frightening because like I see so many people like these independent
content producers.
Sure. You know, basically watching a story on television and then giving their own opinion on it.
The op-eds.
And it's like, this person's not a professional. This person's not educated even in this topic, and yet they're getting thousands, if not millions, of views on things that they don't fully understand or could even break down.
For having an opinion.
And that further leads to more misinformation and confusion and this problem of not having a shared reality here. You know, I mean, you and I could walk outside and very much experience the same world because we're together.
It's the Tommy Lahren versus like Rachel Maddow of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, except one of those people deals in facts and the other is Tommy Lahren. But I mean,
she's so beautiful though. I have a low key crush on her. It's devastating.
She is a gorgeous girl. I'll give her that. You know, I mean, I shouldn't cut Rachel Maddow like completely off the hook. I mean, she's.
Oh no, love her.
But
and she does do her research.
Yeah.
However, like sometimes I think her, as far as like the opinion she comes to, sometimes gets a little half baked and not all of the way. And
I do feel that.
She's also a little dramatic sometimes, where she's like.
I also feel like.
But Tommy Lahren does too. So. Scary.
I've never seen somebody. Okay, that's not true. I mean,
That's
I've seen
not
a lot
true.
of people that are like really hateful, but I mean, that girl, she's just mad about shit that I just don't understand how she's getting that passionate about it. I mean, like, I remember this one clip of her like freaking out over Colin Kaepernick, like taking a kneel, and it's like,
Yeah.
girl, like, what are you so upset about? Like,
Why
just,
are you mad?
like, just chill. Like, it's really just not that offensive. Like, I mean, one, it's not offensive, period. But I mean, like, you know, even if she's against what he believes in, like, just let the guy fucking kneel. I mean, what the fuck?
Well, that's how she makes her bread and butter, by being an overdramatic, crazy lady.
That's how they all make their bread and butter, though, I think. You know, I mean, it's the end of the world, and I want to have a good time. You know, I mean, just be hyperbolic as fuck.
Abso-fucking-lutely. All right, what they say.
Okay.
What they say. They want modern and we're outdated, being used by the tools that we've created, so we can sit back and die overstimulated.
Yes.
So a lot of this is also kind of like referring to AI,
Yes.
I believe,
Yeah.
and the fear of artificial intelligence taking over.
Yep.
So I know this was like also like a very legitimate fear of yours for the past like year and a
Yeah.
half or so. Like, you've been very, very into the like anti-AI,
Yeah.
whatever.
Because here's the thing. This has nothing to do with party, but the fact is, there is no scenario in which I could see AI being good for us. None.
I see it.
It
Collects data and it learns.
But even worse than that, you know, there is a time, right, where, you know, Napster and these sharing spaces came out, and they really hurt the arts industry, right? Especially like music, you know, and those hurt the artist's ability to make money.
Yeah.
AI takes the artist out of the equation entirely.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just take the artist out of the equation. I mean, you know, I'm concerned about that because I'm in art, but I mean, if you're somebody that answers a phone, your job is over. If you're somebody that has to answer a yes or no question based on data, your job is done.
I went to the Taco Bell drive-thru and AI took my order.
Yep. And the thing is that after a certain point, you just have to realize all this is doing is taking my job opportunities away from me. It's not here to help you. They say it's a tool. It isn't. The only thing it is a weapon. The only viewpoint that is acceptable with AI is it's a weapon. It's a weapon to destabilize the economy. It's a weapon to confuse people. It's a weapon to take massive amounts of data and use it against the population.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I kept thinking about that I still think is a horrendously grave threat is the amount of content that AI could produce in a short amount of time. What I was struck by is, you know, my first thought was when Netflix announced that they were hiring an AI czar.
Yeah.
They want to pay this person, I think, something like $900,000 a year to create in-screen AI content. You know,
That sounds terribly boring, by the way.
Brad Pitt, let's say I'm Brad Pitt right now. Hey.
Hi, Brad.
And I pick up this cup originally.
Okay, cup.
Well, in the AI content, it's going to replace that cup with this branded water bottle.
Oh.
Right? Now, here's the thing. That could be a really subconscious edit, and you might not even realize it, you know, at first, right? Unless you compare, like, both, you know, the original cut and the new cut back to back. But what about if you just, you know, Netflix doesn't vet this AI czar? And what happens if, I don't know, he's a white nationalist?
Sure.
And he just says, you know what? our new Netflix content is going to be made by AI, and I'm just going to like not tell anybody, and I'm going to subconsciously plant images of subliminal
things.
images that will turn people against each other.
Yeah.
Whether it be like
which propaganda does work.
Right.
I mean, it's proven, it's studied, it's
Absolutely.
known about, it's written about.
Absolutely.
So it's not like conspiracy that like, oh, you think the American people are freaking stupid? Like,
No.
it's not just about stupid. It's hypnosis.
It's brain control.
Yeah.
You know, it is brain control.
And humans can be mind controlled in a lot of different ways. It's, you know, people are very easily persuaded, and
yes.
that's why, like, you know, I don't think anybody should take messaging light.
I mean,
lightly.
I think even the next line of that song is, be weary of the stage that the prophet stands on,
Yeah.
because the mob will eat whatever they could get their hands on, you know? And I think, you know, AI feeds into the mob mentality.
Yeah.
It loves a mob mentality because it's great for the algorithm.
Yeah.
But the thing is that people aren't thinking their best selves when they're in a mob mentality. In fact, they're probably not thinking much at all. They're just going along with the crowd.
Yes.
And that's what happens when we see things like January 6th, which, you know, anniversary. You know, and it's like, you had that crowd, you know, walk right into the Capitol, destroy the place, and half of them didn't even realize that they were breaking the laws.
Right.
You know, not entirely their fault, but at the same time, it is. Right. You know, so I mean...
Choices were made.
Choices were made. But, like, the thing is that we have to, I think all of us collectively have to kind of step up right now. Because I think, honestly, our entire species is on the line.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't want to sound so hyperbolic about it, but at the same time, like, I think AI is the greatest threat that we've ever faced, even beyond climate change. I think that this is something that, you know, I mean, we've been warning about this for as long as computers have been conceptualized.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, and
I mean, we had like a whole slew, like iRobot and like
even look,
Ex Machina.
Even before that, you know, you go to 2001: A Space Odyssey in 1968.
Yes.
You know, it goes from the birth of humankind to the birth of a new species based off of an AI, you know, fucking everything over.
Yeah.
You know, and like, we have to be smart about what our next steps are. You know, and the simple fact is that, you know, the world that these characters are embodying is a world that has faced this total economic collapse, and they're starving.
Yeah.
And the world is polluted. And why is the world so polluted? You know, I mean, if anybody does any research, AI takes so much power.
Yeah.
It eats up so much power, so much more than like your typical laptop right now would.
Equal to like the original like Bitcoin farms,
Yes.
I would say even. So.
Yes. And like the thing is like, to sustain that amount of power, if everything's going to be AI, that's going to lead to more pollution. And it's going to lead to more problems, and it's going to lead to higher costs on things. And it's just going to fuck everybody.
Yeah.
It's just going to fuck everybody, because nobody's going to have the jobs anymore to pay for the power consumption
Absolutely.
of what they're doing now.
Yeah.
So look, I mean, they could tell you all they want that it's a tool and it's going to help you and it's going to free up all your time. It's not. It's going to fuck you.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I think that there are, you know, implementations of it which can be beneficial, but I think the overall arc of this is going to be drastically negative, if not devastating.
Yeah.
To us.
Yeah, it's very deep. So going onward to Infrared, this is actually my favorite song on the album, partially because of art pop mentioned, even though it's not really art pop. Big Lady Gaga fan, but yeah, when art pop happens, I'm like ARTP OP.
Yes. Just
art pop.
Yes, I
Art
see that.
pop.
Yes, that was pretty good.
Free my mind, art pop.
Yes.
You make my heart stop. You just slapped my fucking microphone.
I'm so sorry.
Kill you. No, you didn't. You didn't.
Okay.
You didn't.
It's like, I thought it was over there.
It would have been fucked up if you did. Okay. So here's the lyric that I pulled from it. So, see a pretty android dressed in a crop top. Bought the love of my life off a shelf in the chop shop.
Yeah.
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 We're going back to porn is the problem, isn't it?
Well, actually more like your AI girlfriend.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
like now...
I've thought about getting an AI boyfriend. I want to be wooed. I want to be
Don't.
swooned.
Don't do it.
I want to be complimented. Tell me I'm pretty.
You're gorgeous.
Not from you.
Ugh.
From someone who actually wants to be with me.
Cori, I will be with you. I will be your beard.
We already tried this.
Yeah,
We already
you're right.
tried this.
It didn't work.
It didn't work.
Oh, well.
You couldn't even hold my hand in front of my ex-boyfriend.
You're right. It didn't work out.
I was embarrassed.
Yeah. Oh, well.
I actually mentioned that in next week's podcast. I was like, I don't know if he wants to be connected to this topic, but we were gonna lavender marry, and he couldn't hold my hand, so I called it off.
I'm so sorry. I'm not sufficient.
It's okay. You'll still be my lavender marriage.
Good.
We make sense.
So, yeah, I mean, a lot of this song was like thinking about like the idea of like an AI partner, because I mean, yeah, porn is a problem, but like even worse, imagine now porn is fake. You know, I mean, porn was already so fake, but I mean now, you're going to be able to.
My expectations are only getting higher. All of our expectations are so high. I'm so sorry. I can't serve in the way I was told that I was supposed to serve. I'm sorry. I can't bend over backwards.
I mean, I think also like
literally.
Here's an idea that like really disturbed me, and I saw this story a while back, and I think that was actually the inspiration for this song, which was this journalist was investigating an AI company, and they didn't like that he was investigating them, so they scanned his Facebook profile and sent him videos of his wife and kids in porn that was fake.
That's horrific.
And the thing is, though, is that we're entering a world now where I could take your picture and make an AI video out of it, and the entire world now gets to fuck you.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Taylor Swift even had that happen, I think, this past year.
There's also a Law and Order episode of a girl got abducted and someone made a real doll.
Yeah.
Like, from her data.
Yeah.
Like, and it turned out to be like a sex trafficking thing. I think it was based on a true story, actually. But, yeah, like that happens also. Like, people are basing like sex toys off of like fucking people who are essentially like are victims of horror and terror and violation.
I mean, it's violation for sure. It's also like it could be happening right now and you don't even know.
It is definitely happening right now.
I mean, somebody could literally be scanning your profile right now.
Absolutely.
And, beating off to a video of you that's fake. I mean,
flattering for me, but other people, it would ruin their lives.
Look, maybe flattering in the sense that like, oh, it's nice that you think of me like that, but keep in mind that that's actually not you.
But also, not to mention, like, I'm an adult. I'm 28 years old right now as this podcast is being done.
Yeah.
I honestly get more concerned and worried about people who are teenagers.
Yeah, well, of course.
And people who are very, very young who are ending up as victims of like an AI porn situation, because that's actually like not just life ruining, but illegal and fucking perverted and and like truly perverted and disgusting.
Yes.
Like that's children. I'm worried about like that.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think that's very much at the heart of this song. I think like the idea of falling in like the idea that we're living in the movie Her is not good. I don't think that movie was trying to encourage that relationship.
No, it is making a statement on like this is the direction, and it kind of came to fruition, unfortunately.
Yes, it literally has.
Like people literally watched that movie and was like, oh, that's a great idea.
Well, I mean, Sam Altman literally stole Scarlett Johansson's voice. He literally stole her voice, and she's actually in litigation with him right now.
Good.
But I mean, I think...
That's fucked up. What the hell?
Yeah, but I mean, like, the thing is like, they're stealing what makes us human, which goes back to this AI being a weapon. Yeah. They're stealing our humanity from us, and the more that they take that from us, the harder it is to conceive of that idea of love.
Sure.
Right? I mean, like, straight community, gay community, doesn't really matter. Does love exist in a world where all interaction is fake,
Yeah.
you know, and artificial. That's traumatizing. You know, that's a
Absolutely.
daunting thought.
So this is a really good lead into also Why I Cry,
Yeah.
which is going to be the next music video from what I had heard.
Yeah,
understand.
that's the goal. You know, funding permitting.
Sure.
I
Big plans for my body, by the way, in that film.
there's a lot of big plans for that music video. We have a lot of really cool visuals in
Yeah.
mind for that video.
Very sexy visuals.
So I mean, Why I Cry is a really interesting song. It's a song about juxtapositions.
Yes.
You know, and it's funny. It's one of the songs that when X and I were making it, we literally looked at each other. We were like, no one's going to listen to this. We thought it was like going to be the dead song on the album.
Yeah.
Because it curses a lot, and we were like, it's not going to get any radio play.
I love
and it's,
cursing.
Sure, but I mean, like, who doesn't, you know? But I mean, like, I think that our thinking was like, this is a vulgar song, and it's probably going to get less play. And the funniest thing is, it's been the song that pops off live almost every show consecutively.
Oh, it fucks.
It literally fucks.
fucks.
It literally fucks.
Yeah, so like what I pulled from it is they shot at work, they shot at school.
Yeah.
They shot your body and left you in a pool.
Yeah.
They shot your friends and fucked your family. But when I fuck you, I'm the enemy.
Yes.
Period.
Yeah. Question
Yeah.
mark, actually.
Question mark, yeah.
Yeah. Here's my thing, right? So, like,
Which I feel like a lot of guys, like, this also goes back to like the incel kind of thing of like you know what, you're gonna demonize me for my needs and my likes and what I desire.
That's
Like,
an
you know, there's a
interesting perspective
negation of like I don't fucking matter.
yeah.
Unless it's serving you.
I
which
kind of
women
love that
feel
interpretation.
Women feel that way too.
Yeah.
You know, in a different way. I think in a more innocent way, really. But
See, like, it's
yeah.
funny, like, I love that interpretation. And
Oh,
if that's
thanks.
the interpretation that
That's
you...
my
Yeah,
interpretation.
if you want to keep that
Wow.
interpretation, I love that. That's not where I actually wrote the song from,
That's
though,
so
in that
interesting.
perspective.
I think I'm stuck in mud of some sort. But yeah.
So, like, those lines in particular, right? Like, the first verse is about all the ways and places in which we collectively feel fucked.
Yeah.
You know, sure, sex is fucking, but also, like, I kind of changed the meaning of the word over the course of the verse into, like, how are we getting screwed over? You know, and it kind of goes down this list of all the different areas and places that's happening. Economically speaking, personally speaking, you know, online, you know, it's happening in all these different places. And then it juxtaposes, you know, getting fucked in all those places or screwed over in all those
It's
places.
like a response to I am the god of fuck, a little bit, almost.
I wouldn't say so.
No?
Honestly, no. I wouldn't say so. I
Shot in the
honestly,
dark.
like, for me, like, I this song really was very personal for me, actually. It was almost, it actually, funny enough, it almost didn't make it on the record.
Wow.
And then, like, going to that second verse that you were just reading from, you know, like, I take virtually the same verse and replace the word fuck with shot. And for me, what my thinking on that is, like, this country has seen so much gun violence. And I think we're all, like, feeling this economic pressure
Yeah.
that, you know, relates to, like, you know, feeling fucked constantly, right? And not ever being able to, like, make it ahead
Yeah.
and, like, get ahead in your bills and, like, just kind of get on firm footing.
Yeah.
You know, and I think juxtapose that with the constant news of, like, mass shootings and violence going on in the streets, and it's like, not only can I not get ahead, but also it's kind of demented out there.
Yeah.
And then the last line of that, which was, you know, but when I fuck you, I'm the enemy, you know, question mark, in the sense that, like, as a gay person, a lot of the guys that I've dated have either been straight or questioning. And, I mean, sometimes they're, you know, sometimes I've dated, like, fully gay men, but generally speaking, a lot of the relationships I found myself in have kind of been
Straight questioning DL.
straight questioning DL type
Yeah.
relationships. And, I mean, my first boyfriend, who was gay, right? My first boyfriend who was gay. I mean, the first day I met his mother, she looked at me and she was like, doesn't your mom know that you have GID? And I was like, what is GID?
What's that?
And she goes, genetic identity disorder. You have one less chromosome. You can't help that you're gay. Now, again, first day I met her.
That's science right there.
That is science right there. And she actually followed that up too. She was like, I took my son to a geneticist and the geneticist told me that he was gay. I was like, I want that doctor's number.
I do too.
And I never got it. But, you know, later on, a few months down the line, my boyfriend's younger brother also came out of the closet. And his mom freaked out. And she blamed us. She was like,
you influenced the gay.
You influenced him and made him
you brought
gay.
The gay.
And
you stole his chromosome.
Right, you beat me to it. I shouted at her and I was like, what did we do? Steal his chromosome? How did we do that? You know, how did that happen? And the thing is like, I've been viewed as a toxin to almost all of my boyfriend's families, because they've fallen for a guy. You know, my second significant boyfriend, you know, his mom came out to me in a parking lot and started accusing me of like
turning his son.
Turning her son, yeah. And you know, she didn't speak particularly great English, and I'll never forget it. She knocked on my window and just like literally knocked on my window. She was just like, "Are you sexing my son?" I was like, "Oh, that's something you should ask him." You know, but
yes, and I liked it.
Yes, I did. But you know, it's like it. Even in the relationship I'm sort of in now, you know, like I started out very friendly with that family, and as I've gone closer with this current friend/partner, that family has distanced themselves from me more and more.
Yeah. And,
you know, it is bewildering to me when I'm looking outside and seeing everything going on. You know,
like, aren't there bigger things to worry about than my homosexuality?
That. And it's like, this country is so going down the wrong path, and you're worried about me having sex with a dude? Really?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it reminds me of that one line in Everything Everywhere All at Once. You know, the
Great
universe
movie.
is so much bigger than you realize. Yeah. You know, and that was really kind of like where the thought process of that came from. It was just like, kind of just this bewildered, like, how am I the enemy here?
Yeah.
You know, our kids are being shot in their schools. Our wages haven't gone up in 30 years. You know, our paychecks suck.
And you're worried about me pleasuring your son?
Really? Like, this is what your concern is? You know, it's like, come on, wait a minute. You know, like, we have to take a step back here. Like, I want what's best for him too. You know, it's like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, and I just felt like, you know, this, like this song was like particularly personal for me. It does kind of stray from the overall narrative, but for me it was well worth it because it really did speak to me. And as it turns out, it's been speaking to a lot of other people as well. You know, I mean, when I play this song live, I mean, I get such good reactions from it, and
it goes hard.
It goes really hard, and also, like, you know, the lyrics, I think, like, you know, like you said in the beginning, like, they're really interpretable to different people in different ways.
And in different popular ways that people view themselves as getting fucked.
Right.
Period.
Right. You know, because I don't think there's anybody out there who hasn't had a moment where they're like, wow, I'm getting fucked right now.
Yeah, getting fucked derogatory.
Yeah.
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 So the last one on the album is Dial It Down.
Yes.
So let's just go with the quote that I pulled from it.
Okay.
So, post-originality, retcon reality, staring up at the ceiling while I'm dying on the floor. If there's nothing left, then what am I here for?
Yeah. So This song was funny enough. This was a tough song for me. Um, I I feel like I got outside of my comfort zone on this song a little bit. And I tried. I really just tried breaking the rules in every way possible. I think, I wanted to make a metal song, but I wanted to make a metal song that really deviated from like the metal sound, in particular, and like the idea like post originality is like all art is sounding the same these days, and I literally just hate that, and I wanted to say no. Like, no, I disagree. I don't think all art, I don't think we've reached the end of art. I really don't. I totally reject that notion.
I mean, I think things are changing.
Yeah, no.
For sure, but
I just, there's this sense
we're
that
at
like...
the precipice of like a new dawn of, I mean, in 10, 20 years from now, like there's going to be like a word for this in a textbook.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah.
you know it. And it's going to be kind of like what I project, I would say, is like it's going to be looked at kind of like protest in like the 60s and 70s and like
I agree with that.
And also I was thinking about like with Baby Girl coming out and Nosferatu come out. There's this idea of like this revival of sexploitation.
Sure.
I believe, like in the 70s,
I think
it was
Baby Girl is
sexploitation.
definitely more sexploitative than Nosferatu.
Well,
but
it's all part of that, of an idea of that genre, because like I can name a bunch of movies that were part of the sexploitation movement of like the late 60s, 70s that weren't, that are two very different types of things, but they're still considered sexploitation nonetheless, because it's not quite porn, but it gives the illusion of it gives the O, within it, and that's edgy and all types of new and pleasurable in some ways.
For me, this Dial It Down is very much like a sister song to When It All Comes Crashing Down.
Mm. That's your bookend.
They bookend each other, and in fact, they actually share a melody.
Yes.
But it's funny when the melody comes in on Dial It Down. One of the ways that I tried to break the rules was I'd always wanted to hear horns in metal, and I never heard it.
Come on, horns.
What's going on?
I love that.
So like we have this point right after post-origin, right after that line where it really just rocks out for a minute, and I have trumpets in there, and we have this guitar solo just shredding over it. I just had some of the best musicians I could find, hop on this track, and like they did such a beautiful job. Frank Saladino on guitar, who's just incredible. I mean, the guy could improvise like no one else. Incredible. And Josh on the trumpet, like just insanely great. Like I handed him this project and I was just like, hey, like this is gonna sound like really weird, but I want to do like screamo with trumpets. And he was like, okay, like let's try it out. And
even just the symbolism of like horns and it's like devil horns and things, like I feel
more
like
so
it fits perfect.
I think it was more so like the idea of like going
the entendre
epic, like going like, horns feel like royal, right? It feel like, the king has arrived at the castle. And in a sense, this is the beginning of the end of Big Mouth's story.
Yeah.
And
demise is on the horizon, but it hasn't reached it yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I also think like there's another lyric in this that I think is important, which is replace me, throw me away, I'm just another relic of yesterday. And I think that I think a lot of us feel like we are disposable or discardable. And I think that there's been a lot of talk about this word replacement. Yeah. Starting all the way back in Charlottesville back in 2019, of these guys walking up and down this street going like, Jews will not replace us. And, this idea that there's this like great replacement theory going on. And, like we were talking about before, like diagnosing the problem and getting it wrong, in the sense that like, yeah, you are being replaced. It's AI. It's not people. It's the AI replacing you.
Yes.
It's these corporate entities and oligarchs replacing you and taking your jobs away and taking your livelihoods away and literally stealing your likeness. They're literally taking your face and your data and creating digital versions of you, and that's not you. And you cannot just replace us.
Yeah.
This idea of these elites like Elon Musk and Sam Altman and all these guys, they are frankly the Antichrist that I'm laughing at in New Normal. I mean, these guys are so anti-human and so just objectively horrible for our future. This song is just this song and a lot of this album is really just kind of the absolute fight against that.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe humans are obsolete, and I don't believe that we are replaceable, and I think that individually we are beautiful.
Yeah.
And we are worthy.
Yeah.
And we have to realize that before it's too late.
Absolutely.
I think that we are not just something that you could throw away and discard, and we have to be strong on that, because I'm very worried that that's where we're heading without realizing it. And again, going back to misdiagnosing the problem, it's like Fox News will have you believe that there's, factions of people trying to replace you, and that's just not the reality, and they want you to believe that, the world is turning a different color skin-wise. Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe it is. But that's not what's replacing you. You're still you. You still are here. You're right now in this moment.
Yeah.
But what's also happening is your jobs and your pay is being replaced by a software.
Yeah.
And that's the real replacement going on. And, this idea that you could divide people with this theory, that's just wrong. It's the wrong solution / problem, And until we realize that, we're really on the wrong path.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And
I think that's a great place to end this.
On that happy note.
Portion of the discussion. We'll come back for the discourse. I got to take a piss break. I got to pee so bad right now. So we're going to get to the discourse and portion of our podcast here. I do this with everybody. We go over some events and wanderings of now, and we talk about it.
Okay.
Let's talk about it.
Let's do it.
So, the very first thing I wrote here is trickle up poverty. So I recently saw a very interesting video that is exploring not trickle down economics, but the more likely of the opposite happening of trickle up poverty, where the top is starving the bottom so much that it's not going to keep feeding up and up and up. Which leads to disaster. But it's if we're hoarding wealth, then you're not going to get more wealth. So, in the spirit of a huge theme on your album being anti-capitalism and the effects of the evil of capitalism on our current society, mainly America, because we're American. Give us your thoughts.
So I think trickle up poverty is a really interesting term. I think honestly it's naming something that is already in the process of happening. I think anyone who pays attention knows that trickle-down economics never worked and didn't work and will never work.
And still hasn't worked.
Exactly. And I think that, if we, just take objective looks at the numbers, our wages haven't gone up in 30 years. The middle class has basically flatlined. I don't even know if you could identify an actual middle class at this point. And I think, it's funny, people who make significantly more than me are still struggling to put food on the table. So I mean, the way I kind of view this is we are already in trickling up poverty. Again, like, I also, like, just want to touch on something, like, I'm not necessarily anti-capitalist. I'm just anti-unfettered and unregulated capitalism. I mean, this idea that you could exploit the working population to the point where they're literally, working starvation wages, it's unacceptable. That's not correct, especially in a country that is as well-to-do as we are. So I mean, this is just, I mean, it's a horrible situation that we find ourselves in, and if we had been smart, we probably would have gone a different way politically many years ago, in 2016, actually. I think,
or maybe even in 2000 with Bush score.
Yeah,
as
right.
well.
I mean, look, there's no telling how different the world would look if we had gotten Gore, which we should have. And there's also no telling how different the world would look if we had gotten Sanders.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately,
I'll never forgive the Democratic Party for that.
Neither will I.
I really won't.
And, I think that, blocking his win, because that's really what they did, the Democratic Party blocking Sanders' win.
He was going to win the primary.
Yeah. It completely exposed them as,
oh, yeah.
Well,
exactly what Fox News accused them of being and doing.
Well, look, I think the Republicans are corrupt in a much different way.
Different way, but not in the same. But
But not necessarily.
When the party that's opposing
Yeah.
you is getting your corruption correct.
Yeah.
And it's not blasphemous, that's when like, you fucked.
Yeah. And I think the Democrats, proved that they are a very hypocritical, very corrupt party in the same way that the Republicans have proved they're a very hypocritical and corrupt party.
Yes.
And again, going back to, I really don't think the protest art songs are by party, because I think the same way that I disagreed with Trump, there was a lot of things with Biden that I thought were really, really poorly done, and,
of course.
I mean, to a lesser degree, I could also personify, Biden as Big Mouth, Trump as Big Mouth. It doesn't really matter,
Biden's like Sleepy Mouth,
Yeah, he's stutter mouth.
He's stutter mouth.
But the thing is, though, is that Biden is also, has been relatively corrupt in my eyes. There's a lot of policy decisions that his administration made that I frankly was not happy with. I think there was a lot of fights that they gave up just entirely. And if they had better communication, they wouldn't have needed to give those fights up. I think the idea that the Democratic Party essentially organized one of the largest political cover-ups in modern history and pretended that he wasn't mentally declining and was still able to do the job is...
And it's still covering him up.
It is still covering him up. I think I think that'll go down as maybe their biggest mistake ever, and I mean, depending on how the next couple of years go, it might be the mistake that ended our democracy.
That's a fucking hard pill to swallow.
But it's the pill that we have to swallow now. I mean,
choking on it. I'm choking on the pill.
Literally.
I could be choking on many other better things than pills right now. You realize? That's getting cut.
I don't think you should cut it. I think you should leave it uncut.
I don't prefer uncut, but for you?
Come on, for me, please.
Oh, I hate this. Oh God, we're so dirty. I hate
I
that.
know,
We're
our
s-
minds are so
We're
warped.
disgusting.
It's okay.
It's what's left. It's what's left of us.
Yeah.
It's what's left.
Oh God, that's a sad thought.
Horrific. Wow.
So,
anyway, moving on to
Yeah.
The apocalypse.
okay.
So
Ready for it.
Yeah, obviously.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yes. The apocalypse was yesterday.
Yes. I'm pretty sure this shirt came from the girl with the dragon tattoo.
Is it really?
Yeah, I made this shirt, but I think she was wearing it in the book,
Oh,
and I made the shirt.
that is so nerdy,
I'm
but also so perfect.
sorry. I'm such a loser.
It's so perfect.
Yeah, when I read it, I was like, I love that. I need that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's enlightening and also super very cultured of you. It's giving culture. It's giving Las Culturistas.
That's right.
Yeah.
I am.
Ding dong. Las Culturistas calling. Shout out to that podcast that I listen to all the fucking time. But anyway, so we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier of like the whole like let the world burn kind of mentality that people were like just generally stuck on and like very happy to welcome in.
Yeah.
Just because they want to feel valid in their misery.
Yeah.
And feeling valid is more important than fixing things for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Being right feels better than putting in the work to fix something and being like, oh, well, I guess it wasn't all futile anyway. Like, that's not comforting to feel that something is fixable when you've felt that something is futile for an entirety of a time.
I also think like.
And this is like
okay,
I think just adding in the last thing. Like, this is like kind of an issue that I've seen plagues many, like mostly men under 40.
Yes. I would say that like pointing out that something is bad is not an accomplishment.
Wow.
You know, I mean, like,
Wow.
I can
Sorry,
also
I was playing with I've literally been fucking with my mic this whole cast.
I saw. I mean, I'm so happy that you, straight man, can tell
Me,
that.
a straight
yes,
man. Cori Schimko, straight
Yes.
man.
I'm so happy that you, Mr. Straight Man, can identify like these issues, and then you have to take the logical next step in that, and nobody seems to be taking that next step, which is, okay, I've identified the issue, now how do we fix it? Instead, what it's become is, okay, I've identified the issue, isn't that bad?
Men used to build houses. Men used to play each other in baseball. Men.
Where are we going with this?
I don't know. I'm like spewing some shit that people keep posting on Twitter, like men used to go to war, men used to do all these things, and now they sit around and twirl their hair and yell at microphones and podcasts.
Okay, but quite honestly, that's an interesting thing right there, right? Is like this idea that masculinity is linked to war.
Oh wow.
I would much rather be talking on a podcast than suiting up to go into battle.
Surely anybody would.
And yet, the idea that, what makes you a real man is violence. Strength, violence, power, overcoming, dominating. Money, excess. Right?
Hyperbole.
All of this, right?
Honestly, drama in a way that is the utmost dramatic, really.
Yeah. And, like, the thing is like, that's not masculine. I mean, okay, men sure have fought most of the wars throughout history, but, like, that doesn't make that right.
Oh.
Just because something has been doesn't mean it was okay. The idea of like the idea of making America great again. When?
Wow.
When?
MAGA when?
I mean, when was it great? I mean, where are you trying to go back to? Because I mean, this notion that we could just go back to this time when, frankly, we actually have evolved past that. And we are beyond that time. There is no going back. There is only forward. But
Okay, Kamala Harris.
well, not to word salad it, but I mean, like, I will not be unburdened by what has been. But I mean, like, that line actually isn't terrible.
Yeah.
Like, I think she's a shitty politician, but I actually think that line is valuable, because I mean, in a lot of ways, it's pretty representative. We shouldn't be burdened by what has been. I mean, like, we are running on old notions and traditions that are frankly gone. This idea that, like, going back to the replacement thing too, it's like, we need to preserve our cultures and we need to preserve, like, our heritages and all these things. You know what? Globalization already got rid of that.
Not to mention, going backwards, like, there's so many women that, like, really own and make things happen. I mean, fuck it, even during the great times, you had bitches like Mary Curie.
Yeah.
You had Hedy Lamarr fucking invented Wi-Fi.
Yep.
Was that, she was a fucking inventor and a Hollywood actress.
Yep.
And model. That's just off the top of my head of, like, just females who did research and changed the world on what they were able to get. I mean, and they had privilege, they had beauty.
I mean, women weren't even allowed to get credit cards until the 70s.
No, they weren't.
Yeah. So, like, what are we talking about? When are we going back to? Because, I mean, like, do women really not want to have the access to have their own finances anymore?
I doubt any man wants my finances. Like,
right.
Do you want my not a single man would want my financial burden, and I guarantee it. And you're not going to find a man that's going to take on other women's financial burdens anymore.
Or also one that can, realistically, right? Because I mean, like,
period.
Again, going back to the fact that our wages haven't gone up, there used to be a time when you could live in a household with one income.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody anywhere in this country that could live in a house with one income right now.
No.
I just don't.
No.
It's not a thing.
And sometimes barely even with two. And, like, what are you going to do? You're going to shack up with somebody and make a love story out of poverty?
I heard
like, that's not going to make people want to fuck each other more. I'm sorry.
Me and a friend used to joke all the time when I was living in my first apartment.
Mm-hmm.
We used to joke, will somebody just fall in love with me so I could pay rent?
Yeah, period.
And, like,
we can't even have that because guys just don't even have or even women don't really have the money to even be like, well, even if we contributed together, we'd still need a third or fourth wheel up on there.
Yep.
And, and that's how you have, like, the polyamorous couples being very
Yep.
prosperous.
Well, that's the thing, though, is, like, that's becoming more and more of a thing, probably because of the economics of it.
It's honestly, like, more economical to be a polycule than it is to just be, like, a monogamous couple.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's as scary as it is. It's true.
I mean, it's not scary for the people who that's their lifestyle, but
no, you're right.
No
you're
one
right.
should be pushed into that sort of lifestyle if they don't, see that as being their, their flavor.
Yeah.
That's not everybody's flavor of love, and it just be like that.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna move on to class consciousness.
Yeah. Also, just cut for a second. I'm starting to get sick here. So, like, can we move toward an end soon?
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. So, class consciousness.
This is, like, literally the it.
Great.
This is it.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool. So
class consciousness. Thoughts. Do you think we're moving forward on it? Because it seems like some people are headcanoning that, like, maybe this could be something we're going for, like the way that, like, people band together when, like, Luigi Mangione.
Very interesting, yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of a thing where people are thinking, oh, I think this might be the step toward class consciousness that people are thinking that it will be. Because it's kind of like a Joker 1 reference of, like, you get what you deserve, and it's like, it's very that.
Here's the thing, though, is I don't know if I'd put that under class consciousness. I think that, when I think of Luigi Mangione, like, he came from a relatively good household.
Yes.
His family was relatively elite. It honestly kind of brings me back to my song "Why I Cry," which is everybody's getting fucked over somewhere. And, you know, in this country, our healthcare system is fucked, you know, and there's really no way around that. And I think that was one of the few times where I saw everybody kind of in agreement of this is the problem.
Yeah.
This is the problem. And I think that is, in a disturbing story, a good sign within that disturbing context. No, Luigi should not have killed that guy, but at the same time, the guy he killed was a murderer. That's just plainly what it is.
The sword cuts both ways.
Well, I mean, look, going back to AI, that guy was using AI to determine if you live or die. You know, that healthcare CEO was literally using a software to determine whether you deserved to get medication or not, or surgery or not.
Showed how much he cared.
Exactly. You know, so I mean, when we're talking about, you know, these things, it's like
the second word in healthcare is care.
Care.
And it doesn't seem like there was much care happening.
None whatsoever. The only care that they had was how much care can I withhold to increase the money in my wallet. And I don't think that's class consciousness, but I do think that's everybody identifying the same problem.
Yeah.
And the question is, now that we've all identified that problem, can we do something about it?
Can we do it?
Can we do it? You know, that's really the next step. And that's where we keep running into this problem of you've identified the problem.
Who wants to do it? How are we going to do it? Who's going to make the decisions? But who also can make this decision?
Also, who wants to put the effort in to fix it?
Yeah.
You know, because I think we keep running into these
Would it serve
nihilists.
everybody?
We run into these nihilists who just don't want to fix the problem because they've identified the problem and they just feel good about that. Look, I identified it. Look, that's wrong. I did it.
You got the answer right on the test, but you know, you still have to do the DBQ, you realize.
Well, like, that's actually a good way to put it, right? Is like, it's like solving a math problem without knowing how you figured it out.
Yeah.
You know, and like, unfortunately, that's like half the country.
And it's like, oh, I did it in my head. Oh, great, you did it in your head. Now show your work.
And they can't. They can't.
We're the valedictorians of the world.
Luigi Baggioli was one.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
All right, and I think that's a really great place to stop.
Oh gosh, on that bright note also. Guys, have a great day.
Viva la USA!